Have you ever felt your life ripped apart in a single night? The story you're about to hear is not just a confession, but Olivia's bitter and harrowing true tale of secrets buried deep within the heart of Manhattan. My name's Olivia. My life it used to flow smooth as the Hudson River just gliding past those New York skyscrapers. Then suddenly it was a damn tidal wave. For almost 2 decades, I was living in a sweet dream, wrapped up in a family I thought was picture perfect, full of love and all that jazz. And then, the whole damn thing imploded. This is my journey facing down the nastiest betrayal, horrifying family secrets, and even the truth about who I really am. Every twist and turn in this story, it's like a gut punch you never saw coming. You won't know what's next. Everything you thought was real might just be a perfectly crafted lie. Come with me into Manhattan's shadows and the hidden will, where the light of justice has to fight like hell against the darkest kind of deception. You ready for this? Our family lived in this classic brownstone up on the Upper West Side, real New York. My grandparents, Arthur and Martha, they were quintessential New Yorkers. Practical, hardworking, and family first always. My dad, David, a brilliant architect, married my mom, Clara, a gentle elementary school teacher. They had 2 girls, Isabel, the older one, and me, Olivia, the baby of the family. Isabel was 3 years older, and she was always my role model. Even with the age gap, we were thick as thieves. I was the quiet one, the type who'd rather get lost in a book at the public library or tend to my plants on the balcony. Isabel? She was like a spotlight in Times Square, bright, confident, always a step ahead of me. Isabel always had these huge ambitions. She studied communications at NYU, and she bounced from job to job because the vibe wasn't right. My dad, David, he used to tell her, Isabel, you gotta settle down. But she'd just shrug it off. Dad, I'm on my path. I'm gonna make it big real soon. Isabel was dead set on her path, even if it hadn't paid off yet. Our family, even with our differences, it was always warm. Dinner times were always packed with laughter. My parents, David and Clara, they always told us to love each other because sisterhood is priceless. Until one Saturday night, Isabel suddenly announced she was bringing her new boyfriend home to meet us. We were pretty floored because just a few weeks before she was complaining about being single. That night, Isabel showed up with this stranger, Marcus. He was tall, good-looking, smooth-talking, and super charming. Marcus was a marketing director, super talented and successful, according to Isabel. After a cozy dinner, Isabel dropped a bombshell: Marcus and I are getting married. Next month will be exactly 1 month since we met, and we just know it's fate. The air in the dining room just got heavy. My dad slowly put his teacup down, his eyes on my sister, full of suspicion. My mom gently said, Isabel, I think you two should get to know each other better. 1 month is way too soon. I was stunned, looking at my sister with a mix of shock and worry. Isabel, the one who was always so careful about everything, acting this fast? What was going on? Isabel announced her wedding after knowing him for only 1 month. Isabel frowned, her reaction a little sharp. Don't you guys believe in true love? Didn't you all always want me to be happy? The atmosphere got tense. Even though everyone expressed their concerns, Isabel dug in her heels. I just stayed silent, looking at the sister. I'd always loved a creeping sense of unease starting to coil in my stomach. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat alone by the window. I clutched my journal, my hand trembling as I wrote the first lines in months. Isabel, you taught me that true love takes patience and time to understand someone. I always believed that. But now you're choosing to marry someone after just 1 month? I'm confused. I don't even know who you are anymore. Meanwhile, in the next room, Isabel was stretched out on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Marcus had left a while ago, but her mind was still racing. She told herself, no one truly understands me. When my heart needed protection, they just gave me doubt. I tried to please everyone, but all I got was disappointment. Marcus is different. He sees me. He listens to me. Even if the whole world turns its back on me, at least there's one person who believes in me. After Isabel announced her wedding to Marcus, the whole family was in a state of confusion. My dad couldn't sleep all night, my mom silently prayed, and I just curled up in the corner of my bed, staring blankly out the dark window. The same question kept repeating in my head: what is happening to my sister? In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house slowly turned suffocating. Isabel became increasingly difficult to reach. She was constantly out avoiding our grandparents and parents. Every time she was asked about the wedding, Isabel would either dodge the question or snap back irritably, I'm old enough to make my own decisions. Stop trying to control me. I tried to get back to how close we used to be. One evening when Isabel walked into the kitchen, I gently called out, Isabel, I just want to understand you better. Can we talk? Isabel turned around, her eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. I don't have time. Don't pretend to care when you and everyone else are just suspicious of me. I stood frozen in the cold kitchen. My chest tightened, my throat choked up. In front of me was Isabel, the sister who used to hug me and comfort me during nightmares, the one who was always my rock. But now that cold stare and sharp voice sent shivers down my spine. I felt like I was facing a stranger, scary, distant, and dangerous. That night I wrote in my journal, is she angry? Or has she changed? I want to pull her back to how she was, but it's like trying to hold smoke. Everything is slipping through my fingers. Isabel, meanwhile, posted a short line on her social media. Tired of being doubted. If I don't look out for myself, who will? While the whole family was caught between hope and suspicion outside, Isabel and Marcus had already started their sinister plan. They found a shady lawyer, forged a will in Isabel's name, and found every way to carry out their objective in secret. And finally, the unthinkable tragedy struck like a tornado, tearing everything apart. Early Saturday morning, as I was getting my books ready for tutoring, the phone rang. On the other end was a hoarse, trembling voice, the duty officer reporting that my parents had been in a serious accident on the highway while on their way for a weekend getaway in the suburbs and had died instantly. The house fell into a deafening silence. I dropped the phone, wrapped my arms around my knees, and collapsed onto the cold floor. The last images of my parents flashed through my mind like a blurry film reel. My mom's smile as she folded laundry, my dad's hand on my shoulder yesterday afternoon. All of it turned to ashes after just one phone call. The funeral was held 2 days later on a drizzly, gloomy afternoon, as if foreshadowing ill omens. Isabel appeared in a fancy black dress, sunglasses covering most of her face, her lips a dark wine red, a completely different image from the familiar sister I once knew. As the coffin was lowered into the ground, Isabel pulled out a handkerchief to wipe away tears, but the look I caught in her eyes was dry, empty, like a ripple-less lake. There was something chillingly unfamiliar in her eerily calm demeanor. That night I sat in front of the newly set-up altar, the flickering candlelight illuminating my pale face. I wrote in my journal, "No, it can't be. Mom just hugged me yesterday. Dad just asked me about my studies. Why is this happening? It's like a nightmare. Is this real?" It was a coincidence I couldn't find peace with. Just 3 days after the funeral, Isabel summoned the family lawyer to the house. She casually presented a new will notarized just weeks ago, stating that all assets, including the ancestral brownstone and savings totaling $40 million, were transferred entirely to Isabel. The paperwork was complete with seals and signatures confirmed by witnesses. Everything was suspiciously legal. I was stunned, staring at the words, "Sole heir Isabel Harrison." My head buzzed, my hands trembled. Something was wrong. My parents were always fair, careful, and never showed favoritism, so why would they make a separate will without saying anything? Why did the timing coincide so unbelievably? "Sis, Mom and Dad just died. Why are you so rushed?" I whispered, trying to hold back my tears. Isabel turned her lips, pressed into a tight line, her voice even and cold. "You don't understand anything, Olivia. This was Mom and Dad's wish. Everything was arranged beforehand. You should know your place in this family." Her words were like a sharp blade slicing into my young heart. I don't know what hurt more, the death of my parents or the cruel betrayal from the very sister who was once my whole world. The lawyer confirmed the legality of the will. Even though I had 100 questions swirling in my head, I had no concrete evidence to refute it. I had no choice but to endure it. I, along with my aging grandparents, had to bear the full weight of this. The day after my grandfather fell gravely ill from grief and had to be hospitalized. Once again, I called my sister to ask for her help in caring for our grandparents, but she was indifferent, as if she were a stranger who didn't care at all. She said it wasn't her responsibility and told me to move out of the house according to our parents' will so Isabel could bring her boyfriend home and get married. At the height of our pain, my ailing grandparents and I had to move out and rent a small apartment in a nearby neighborhood to continue living. And the day we moved out to give our beloved home to a new but very familiar owner, my sister that day had come. The day I had to move into the cramped little apartment I had just temporarily rented. My life after my parents' death was a series of dark and dead-end days. No longer a home, no longer protected, I was now in a tiny apartment in a rundown, poor neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. A tiny 2-bedroom apartment, peeling walls, a leaky roof whenever it rained. But for me now, it was all I could afford to keep living and caring for my ailing grandparents. That night, I sat quietly in the cramped little apartment I had just temporarily rented, holding my grandfather in his restless sleep. I felt like the world had crumbled beneath my feet when my parents died, our home was gone, and my sister had seemingly turned into a different person. But somewhere deep in my heart, a small spark ignited, a spark of doubt, of determination to find the truth. I didn't know where to start, but I knew one thing for sure: this couldn't be the end. Every day I woke up early, prepared medicine and breakfast for my grandparents, then rushed to university classes. I took extra shifts at a bakery near home. The meager pay was just enough to temporarily cover rent and medicine. Our savings slowly dwindled with each prescription, each medical bill. But I tried to stay strong. One cold, early winter evening, while clearing out some of my parents' old boxes in the small apartment to make a little more space for my grandfather to rest, I accidentally discovered an old wooden chest. Inside the chest were old photo albums, papers, a few keepsakes, and an old sealed yellow envelope clearly written in ink. "Only open when Olivia turns 18. My heart pounded. My hands trembled as I held the envelope. It had been 6 months since my 18th birthday, and no one in the family had mentioned it. I still remembered that birthday filled with emptiness and the sorrow of loss. I slowly, almost stealthily opened the envelope. Every movement of my fingers felt like an electric current running through me, a sense of unease seeping into every cell of my body. Inside was a handwritten will, not typed or printed, but in the familiar handwriting of my father David. Each line was written carefully, respectfully, as if he had poured his heart into it. There was a clear legal verification seal, and what chilled me to the bone was the date on it from many years ago, even before Isabel announced her engagement, even before that fateful accident. The content of each line appeared turning me to stone. The cramped little apartment suddenly spun the space warping around me. I read and reread every sentence, every word. We, David and Clara Harrison, agree to be the legal guardians for Olivia Rose Williams, daughter of the deceased Mr. and Mrs. Williams after their passing in an aviation accident in Switzerland. The room froze. My heart hammered in my chest. Williams? Aviation accident in Switzerland? I'm not a Harrison by blood. That truth slammed into me like a sucker punch. Every childhood memory, every bit of love I got, it was all real, no denying that. But underneath it all, there was a buried truth, a secret I never even imagined. I kept reading, my hands gripping the will drenched in sweat. We commit to raising and caring for Olivia as our own child until Olivia turns 18 years old. After Olivia reaches adulthood, all assets entrusted by her biological parents, including the house and savings account worth $40 million, will become Olivia's legal property. $80 million. That house, it was all mine. Tears streamed down my face, not from sadness, but from pure unadulterated rage. I wasn't just robbed of my inheritance. I was robbed of the right to know who I really was. I'd been living a lie, under a name that wasn't mine, in a family where the truth was cruelly hidden. And worse, Isabel. My sister, the one I used to worship, the one I trusted, absolutely, she was the one who quietly took everything. No explanation, no warning, just deception and greed. The image of Isabel cold and calculating at that, hearing her words cutting like knives, it all flashed back, sending shivers down my spine. Every disconnected piece in my mind suddenly clicked into place. Isabel's attitude before Mom and Dad passed, her crazy rush to announce that will, and even that dead empty look in her eyes at the funeral. It was all part of the plan. I kept reading the last lines, my voice trembling. We are employees of the Williams family. We signed before a notary public with authorization from the Williams family's lawyer. Employees. My parents? David and Clara Harrison, the people who raised me, taught me, sacrificed their whole lives for me. They were just employees? I was numb. The truth was too much to take in. I wasn't their biological child. All my childhood memories, all the love I received, it was real, but behind it lay a buried truth. A chilling sensation washed over me. It wasn't just about being deceived, but also the truth about my parents' identity. They had lived a lie for me, or for some reason I couldn't yet grasp. This was even more terrifying than losing the money. If they were employees, why did they adopt me? Why didn't they tell me the truth? Why was this will kept secret, and why did Isabel have another fake one? Hundreds of questions swirled in my head, forming an unholy mess I couldn't untangle. Pain, anger, confusion, and even a twisted sense of betrayal from the very people I trusted most. But amidst that emotional chaos, a flicker of light suddenly ignited. A spark of determination. I'd lived in the shadows for too long. It was time for the truth to come out. It was time for me to reclaim what was mine, to reclaim my identity. My eyes shifted from panic to resolve. I clutched the will in my hand as if it were the only key to unlock the door to the truth. Isabel, Marcus, and anyone else involved in this scheme, they were going to pay. I got up from the cold floor, my legs still shaky, but my resolve was stronger than ever. I looked out the window where the cold moonlight streamed into the room as if witnessing my silent vow. This wasn't just a fight for money. This was a fight for honor, for truth, and for myself. This was the start of a journey I didn't know where it would lead, but I knew I couldn't stop. I immediately went to my dad's old workplace, where he used to store all his important files, and asked to search. After hours of digging, I found certified photocopies, contact information for the Williams family's lawyer, and the bank account holding the savings. It all matched up. I snapped photos, backed up everything. At that moment, a slow burning rage ignited within me. I decided to go to the police station. Though I didn't know where to begin, I laid out everything: the original will, the legal records, the signs of fraud in the will Isabel presented, and my suspicions about my adoptive parents' sudden death. The duty officer initially took it as a routine report, but as he examined the original will and accompanying documents closely, his eyes changed. A call was made. Before long, a detective squad was dispatched to meet me. They carefully collected the evidence, asking me to recount every detail from when my sister brought her boyfriend home to the strange car accident and the unexpected appearance of the will in Isabel's name. The investigation was officially reopened. And I, from a discarded girl, now held the truth and the key to turning the entire game around. That night, I returned to my tiny apartment, sitting next to my grandparents, taking my grandpa's frail hand and whispering, "I won't let anyone hurt this family again." In the days after I gave the evidence to the police, my life remained a whirlwind of emotions. I was trying to care for my weakening grandparents while anxiously awaiting news from the authorities. Every time the phone rang, my heart squeezed. Inside me was a mix of hope for the truth to be revealed and the pain of a family forever lost. Finally, the news from the police station came. They had started investigating Marcus, Isabel's mysterious boyfriend. And after just a week of tracking, the results shocked everyone. Marcus was in fact a professional con artist who had been investigated in at least 5 different states. He used a string of fake identities, each time targeting wealthy women, painting them a picture of love, freedom, and adventure, then slowly taking over their assets. Not a single one of those victims was left with a dime. The police also discovered that the will Isabel presented after my parents' death was created by AI document forgery software. Every detail from signatures, notary seals, even paper stains was simulated with incredible sophistication. If it weren't for the original, I found the truth might have been buried forever. As soon as they had enough evidence, the police, in coordination with customs, intercepted Isabel and Marcus at JFK Airport right before they boarded a flight to Greece to begin their promised free life. When she was cuffed, Isabel tried to shout to Marcus that she'd find a lawyer to clear their names, but his cold, silent face confused her. She still had no idea she'd been completely used. The trial opened 2 months later on a chilly New York autumn morning. The courtroom was dead silent, only the steady hum of the air conditioning and a few quiet coughs. I sat in the front row, clutching my grandparents' hands, frail but determined to witness this. Their eyes were fixed straight on the defendant's box where justice was about to be served. When Isabel was brought in handcuffed, her eyes avoided mine, her head bowed low, tears streaming down her face. Gone was the pride, gone was the cold confidence of before. I barely recognized her. She stumbled, her oversized prison uniform, hanging loose, her hair, wild and matted, covering almost her entire face. Her eyes, once sparkling with confidence, were now sunken, dark-rimmed, and full of despair. She avoided eye contact, not daring to look at me or our grandparents. Her head was bowed, tears streaming down her cheeks. No longer the proud, coolly confident woman she once was. All that remained was a haggard, broken woman. My chest tightened. Was this still Isabel, the sister I used to cherish? The judge began the trial. The prosecutor presented the evidence, every word like a hammer blow to my ears. Then it was Marcus's turn. He stood up, his face, still handsome, but his eyes utterly empty. And his testimony, it wasn't what I expected. I plead guilty, Marcus said, his voice even devoid of emotion. I planned everything. Isabel was just my victim. I exploited her naivety and her greed. As for the accident, Marcus paused, taking a deep breath. The entire courtroom held its breath. As for the accident of Mr. David and Mrs. Clara Harrison, that was an accident, completely unrelated to me. I tried to persuade Isabel to delay taking the assets after their death because I didn't want to raise too much suspicion. But she was too impatient. She believed she could forge the will perfectly. Marcus's testimony stunned me. The accident was real, not caused by him. So Isabel was actually the one who forged the will, getting herself tangled in this plot? Everything suddenly became much more complicated. Was Marcus playing a new hand, or was that the truth? Isabel suddenly sprang up, her eyes red, glaring at Marcus. You're lying. You're the one who instigated me. You're the one who tricked me. You said it was the fastest way to get the life we dreamed of. You're a devil, she screamed, her voice choked with sobs. Security had to immediately restrain her. The judge called for order. Marcus remained stone-faced, just shrugging. She knew what she was doing, he said. She wanted the money, she wanted the luxurious life. I just showed her the way. Marcus's words just poured more fuel on the fire. Isabel, once calmed, still kept sobbing. I looked at Marcus, he was still a blood-sucking devil. But I also looked at Isabel. In the depths of her eyes was utter despair. Maybe he had exploited her greed and her craving for validation. I heard every word, every scream, and every beat of my heart felt torn. Inside me was an unspeakable mess. Hatred, pain, and a touch of something called pity. I used to hate Isabel, resented her, wanted to erase every memory of the sister I loved. She looked directly at me, her red eyes glistening with tears. I betrayed my family, I betrayed my sister's trust. I lost myself. I don't ask for forgiveness. Isabel choked up, then continued, each word torn from her soul. Olivia, if you have any kindness left, even just a tiny spark, please take care of our grandparents for me. I have no one left but them. And I'm truly sorry, sis. Was she truly a ruthless villain, or just another one of Marcus's victims? The judge read a lengthy indictment detailing the charges of fraud, forgery, and embezzlement against both defendants. When it was Isabel's turn to speak her final words, she stood up, her voice trembling. I have no excuse. I was wrong. I was swept away by the sweet talk of someone I thought was the love of my life. I betrayed my family. I betrayed my sister's trust. I don't ask for forgiveness. But please, Olivia, if you have any kindness left, please take care of our grandparents for me. I have no one left but them. I clenched my hands. Inside me was an unspeakable mess. I used to hate Isabel, resented her, wanted to erase every memory of the sister I loved. But at the same time, deep in my heart, I couldn't forget those evenings we'd cuddle up watching cartoons, the times Isabel carried me home after a tiring day at the park, the tears we shared when our little dog Max passed away. Finally, I stood up. I walked closer to where Isabel was being held. No one dared to breathe. I looked deep into my sister's eyes, tired and empty. I won't hate you, I said. Each word slow but full of certainty. But I won't forget either. Isabel burst into tears. She crumpled to the floor, sobbing and nodding repeatedly, as if that was the last tiny bit of hope she could cling to. I turned and walked away. Stepping out of the courtroom, the gentle afternoon sun shone on my face. There was still a lot of pain in my heart, many unanswered questions, but at least the truth was out. And I knew I would keep living, not just for myself, but for the people I loved, blood or not. Life didn't let me choose my birth family, but I could choose how to live and how to forgive. And for me, that was a new beginning, born from collapse and awakening. A few years later, I graduated from college working in charity, using the inheritance to set up a fund supporting orphan children. I lived with my grandparents in a small house, not fancy but warm. Isabel was doing time in a correctional facility. Marcus got 15 years. On one visit, Isabel said, her voice choked, "I have nothing left, but I still have you. Thank you, Olivia." I just nodded, then quietly walked away, the sunlight on my back strong and full of hope. After everything, I realized that life isn't always a bed of roses, especially when the truth has been hidden for too long. From my story, I hope you see what's truly important. Family love is priceless, but it also needs transparency and trust. And sometimes, forgiveness is the only way we can move forward. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting the pain, but accepting the truth and freeing yourself from the burden of hatred. Just like I did with Isabel, I don't hate her, I just choose not to forget this lesson. My life has weathered many storms, but those very storms helped me grow stronger. I hope this story serves as a reminder for you. Cherish the truth, believe in kindness, and never stop loving. Because no matter how much darkness surrounds us, the light of truth and love will always guide our way. I'm Olivia Harrison, and this is my story. Thanks for listening.